Hi guys, today we're going to be running all over the place. I've got a bunch of random projects that I'd like to get done. I came out here earlier this morning and kind of just walked around and made mental notes of little things that I'd like to get checked off the checklist. I've got a few plants in containers I'd like to get planted. We've got some weeding to do, maybe a little bit of seed starting outdoors, and some fertilizing. So I figured we would just kind of start in the front, work our way back, and just kind of jump right into this whole day. Our first project is to get our Supertunia Vista bubblegum experiment on a weekly fertilizing schedule. So we just potted these up the other day and I added the Proven Winners slow release fertilizer to the soil. That'll provide a slow, steady feed. But these plants are high performing, vigorous growers, so they do best when they're on a weekly fertilizing schedule. And that's where this comes in. This is the Proven Winners water-soluble fertilizer. This provides the plants all the nutrients that they need to continuously bloom and perform. Plus it has chelated iron, so it keeps the foliage a nice, gorgeous green color. And because it's water-soluble, the plants are able to take it up right away. And it's really easy to mix up and apply. So this is what it looks like. It comes with a 1 tablespoon scoop. So the dosage is 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. These containers are 2 gallons, so I'm gonna add 2 scoops per container. I've got 2 containers here. Oh, there goes the wind. Uh-oh. Oh, it's still in there. I'm gonna set this down right here. We got wind gusts of 20 miles an hour. Oh my. So each container is 2 gallons. The dosage is 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. Each container has 2 tablespoons of fertilizer. So now all we need to do is add water and apply. And now we just take it over and just water as usual. I may have mixed up a little more than I needed. Wow, look at this one. Aren't they just beautiful? And now all of these have just had their first weekly dose of fertilizer, and I can't wait to see them grow. Ah, so pretty. I still have an entire can of fertilizer, so we're gonna go fertilize the annuals and boxwoods on the front porch. Right over here. Look at these. They look so pretty. All right, wind. There's our summer squash in back of this container too. It's gonna get fertilized. Okay, our first project is done. Now we can move on to the next. We're gonna need biotone for this. Next, we've got a pepper plant we're gonna plant in one of the new 2x3 raised beds. And I've also got some melon seeds. These are Hannah's Choice cantaloupe. I've never grown these before, so this is gonna be another experiment, but I love cantaloupe. It's one of my favorite fruits, so I figured why not give it a try. So this is the bed that we're gonna be planting our pepper plant in. This is an Armageddon pepper, extremely hot. This is Mo's favorite, so we're gonna plant that for him. And then this bed, we're gonna plant our melon seeds right behind our onions. So we'll get this in the ground real quick. I'm gonna add a little biotone starter fertilizer because I haven't amended the soil at all. So that'll be perfect for that. We'll pop our pepper plant out. Roots look good. No need to mess with them. Now we just need to plant it. Get it all nice and tucked in. Perfect. So for our melons, the instructions say it's best to start these indoors about a month before we transplant them out, somewhere around April. Or you can direct sow them in the ground, which is what we're gonna do. And it says it recommends 3 seeds per hole, about 1/8 of an inch deep. So that's what we're gonna do. And because I'm just using the back of a 3-foot bed, I'm only gonna plant 3 seeds, and whichever ones germinate, we'll just thin them out. This is what they look like. We'll just put them in. Oh, wait. A little bit of biotone. That is too deep. Cover them up. Done. The pepper plant and the melon seeds are all watered in, and I went ahead and watered our garlic, onions, and our whole little salad bed going on over there. Look at the garlic, you guys. It's already starting to send out its scapes, which are its bloom stalks that want to try and flower and go to seed, but it still seems so early in the season. We're only like mid-May, or actually like the 3rd week of May. So it just seems like these should be doing this in June, but maybe that's a good sign. I don't know, but these are pretty. But once they start doing their little curlicue, we're gonna have to cut them off because I don't want them focusing their energy on flowering and seeding. I want them to direct all of their energy into the bulbs underground. And then here's our onions real quick. I think I can remove this now. I don't think anything is gonna mess with these. There's Shuey basking in the sun behind the bed. Hi, Shoo. Hi, sweetie. Hi, Wiggle Wiggle. And then here's our little salad bed. Our borage has just exploded. I need to harvest some chamomile. Our celery, looking fantastic. All of our lettuce, parsley, dill, herbs, everything is just looking very bountiful in here. Which leads us to our next project is getting these 3 in the ground. So we've got the last 2 of our borage and the last chamomile plant, all of which are looking pretty sad and stressed in their nursery containers because they've been in here too long. Look at that. Yeah, they're gonna be a lot happier to get in the ground. Look at these. These are all kind of twisted, but they are starting to set buds. So I think once these get in the ground, they'll straighten up as well. And they'll look so much better in like a week or so. All right, let's get these in the ground. All right, the borage and chamomile are in the ground, watered in. These are going to be so much happier. Well, we're just chugging right along. So our last project on this side of the property is weeding this little tiny garden right along the chain link fence. This is where I planted all the zinnias last year. And I think I want to try cosmos this year, or maybe a mix of zinnias and cosmos. I'm not sure. But we need to get in here and weed it out because it's looking atrocious. And I think I'm going to even pull some of these old allium bulbs that we planted a couple years ago because they're not coming up consistently and they're sporadic. So they're just kind of popping up here, there, and everywhere, and they look very unsightly. Here's one allium right here, a couple over here, then nothing, then another random one, and then like two grew together and another one. And so this whole area right here just looks really mangy and wild and unkempt. Look at this. These helicopters just will root in anywhere. I've already pulled like 300 all over our property, and that's just on the conservative side. So yeah, let's just get after this whole thing. All right, guys, we got this weeding project done. You can see it just looks so much better, especially with all of those crazy looking bulbs removed. I wasn't too crazy as far as getting every single solitary weed I could get out because I didn't go, whatever I could get behind the chain link fence I got. I did leave a couple of these Japanese maple seedlings in here. Mo wants to try an experiment, let them grow, and then pot him up and give him to his mom because she really likes Japanese maples. So yeah, you can see everything is looking just so much better. Cleaner, it's not 100%, but it does look a lot better. And those little Japanese seedlings, they're from our neighbor's Japanese maple. Look at this thing. Isn't it just spectacular? I'm gonna wait a couple days before I plant the zinnia and cosmos seeds because every time I dig around in this bed, the squirrels follow right behind me and they start burrowing through this whole bed, thinking that they've got some kind of food source in here, and I don't want them kicking up any of our seeds. So I'm just gonna give them a couple days and let them sort themselves out, and then I'll come back in and seed this bed. Now let's head over to the berry beds where we have a couple more projects in that area. The first one involves some leftover herbs. I want to plant some leftover parsley and dill in the blueberry beds, just as kind of like a natural pollinator attractant and pest deterrent. So I've got a parsley and a dill in each bed. And then I do have some leftover Cabernet onions, the red onions, that I totally forgot about. So we're gonna plant some in each bed as well and see what happens. I'm curious to know how these are gonna react in a more acidic environment. So again, we're running another experiment. So we're gonna plant the dill and parsley in these two beds along with our leftover onions. And then when we finish with that project, we are gonna pot up a couple evergreens. So I've got two junior giant arborvitaes. These are kind of like spares for our junior giant arborvitae hedge. Just in case any of them perish, we'll have a couple extra. I've got one on each side of the berry beds, and I'm gonna pot them up in these big blue containers. I've got one on each corner. And then later on, when Mo gets home, he's gonna level off these pavers so we can set the big blue containers on top of them and just have them on each end of the berry bed, and these will be our spares. And then I've got a couple more of the big blue containers, and we're not gonna pot them up today. I'm reserving a couple for play in the blue salvia. And if you know, you know. If you don't, stick around, you'll find out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get everything potted up, planted, and then I'll come back around and give you guys a mini tour, show you how it all looks. Here we go. All right, you guys, we got everything potted up, planted, fertilized, and watered in. Oops, I forgot to water this pot. I'll come back and water that one. But everything is done. I'm so happy, and I think it looks so good. I do love evergreens in containers most of the time, and this is one of those times. Doesn't this look so pretty? The cobalt blue against the green of the junior giants, and they are a little stressed, but I think now that they're in fresh soil, fully charged, we added biotone starter fertilizer to the soil, I think they're going to be a lot happier. And then I had some leftover pansies, so I popped them in. Aren't they sweet? Look at these colors. So I popped 3 in on each container, underplanted the evergreens with some pansies. And then in this bed, which is pretty much the same as that bed, I added a parsley, a dill, and our leftover onions. I only had 4 onions for this bed and 6 onions for this bed. So we will see how onions do in acidic soil, because again, blueberries like acidic soil, and they're really happy because look at this, you guys. Look at all these blueberries forming. Yum! I'm so excited. I think I am gonna try to protect these from the birds. I have seen and I have tried where you cover the entire plant with like a cover. The only problem with that is I find that when I take the cover off, I always end up breaking a few branches or knocking too much fruit off. And I know they have some with zippers, but I think I'm gonna go a different route this time. Last year I used those mesh bags for our tomatoes, and this year I used them on our strawberries in the green stalks, and so far they're working really well. So our strawberries are producing fruit now. Look at that. So I decided, because I did notice a little bit of bird activity, I took these mesh bags and just covered the fruit so the birds couldn't get them. And they have been leaving these alone, just similar to what I did with the tomatoes last year. The birds did not bother them. Once the fruit was in the pouch, they just left it alone. But look at that. We've got strawberries. I'm so excited. So I think I'm going to do the same thing with the blueberries. I know it may seem a little tedious to go around and bag each cluster, but I think it's worth it if you end up with these gorgeous fruits. And honestly, it doesn't take that long to bag them if you stay on top of them and start early. Last year when I did the tomatoes, I waited a little too long, and the tomato plants had so many fruits that I spent a majority of an afternoon just going through these gigantic plants and bagging them. I did try netting them with that bird netting before I tried these mesh bags, and I wasn't a fan of them because I would come out in the morning and sometimes I would find like a bird stuck in them. Oh, and that just freaked me out. I was like, absolutely not. I'm doing everything I can to promote wildlife and pollinators. I don't want to do anything to harm them. So the mesh bags worked great last year. So far on the strawberries, they're working great, and I will keep you posted on how they're doing with the blueberries. And you guys, that is it for our video today. So glad to be able to get all these little projects done and checked off the checklist. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.